Hi everyone, this is the Blender is not so difficult live stream, and I know this is a huge claim and I'm trying to prove it. So yeah, we did this before on a test stream, and now let's see if this works as well as it did last time, because I really liked it, and I think I need to do something before we can start, so give me just a moment. And we're back. So yeah, I just had to close the window because, yeah, people outside are making noise. That's not good. Okay, so let me just load up my scene, my standard scene. Here you go. All right, so yeah, last time we just went over the absolute basics for Blender, how you can move things, how you can rotate things, how you can scale things, and I guess not everybody was there the last time, so we should do a bit of that today as well. Just a bit faster, a bit less elaborate. Unless you really want to get the whole basics information again, just let me know. The chat is open, I hope. I believe you need to have an account to chat, but if you know where to reach me on Telegram, you can also send me messages on Telegram, and I will just react on that as well. Yeah, so for the basics, let me just get this here. Right, for the basics, this is what you see when you open Blender for the first time, or rather, this is what you see when you open Blender for the first time. It tells you a few things about the version. I'm using Blender 2.91.0 Alpha, so it's basically the latest version you can get. And that is usually not a problem for Blender. You just download the latest build from yesterday, and in 99% of the cases it will work just fine. That's why I use it, because it has all the features that are coming in the newest versions, the next releases of Blender. So 2.91 release will have all the bells and whistles, and of course I want to stay on top of that, and I want to try them out and see what they can do. Most of that is not important for the basics, of course. The basics have been like that for, I think, 20 years or something like that. Blender hasn't changed much in regards of the basic navigation and editing tools. So yeah, I don't think that will change in the near future. So you can use 2.83, I think, is the long-term support version, which is deemed 100% stable, and you will be able to follow along just fine. Oh yeah, I just hear you don't only need an account, but also a channel if you want to come chat. So yeah, that's a bit annoying. Maybe we can find a better thing, better way to do that next time. Let me know if you have ideas how to make the chat thing better and easier for you, so I can just have maybe 2 chat windows open or something like that. Works for me. I still have some room on the screen. The question is, do I have a Space Navigator? Yes, I do. But I don't think I ever got it to work in Blender. I have this one here, standard space thing. There is a setting in Blender for that. I have not been able to get it to work. As far as I know, it can use a NDOF device, exactly this one. And yeah, It is enabled, I think, but it does nothing. So not sure. Maybe it works on other operating systems. On my Linux version, it does not work for Blender. It does work for other things, but I can't do anything right here. Unless I'm missing something that might as well be. Maybe it does it in flight mode. Nah, doesn't do anything in flight mode either. So I unfortunately don't know. Oh, it does. Oh, okay, yeah, this is the normal mouse navigation. Okay. So yeah, can't really help with that at the moment, but I will look into that because I'm interested in that as well, and maybe I can really get it to work at some point. Ah, okay. Yeah, I guess you are using a Windows operating system. That's at least what I believe. So it might be that it actually does something on Windows, but I can't really what it would do on Linux, or how you would have to set it up. If there are any drivers, maybe I need to install drivers for that, because the other application I use it for does not like it if you install drivers, because it uses it exclusively. So maybe that's the reason why it works in that application, but it does not work here. Translation doesn't work. Yeah, I would assume it is not a problem. Conceptual problem, systemic problem with the Space Navigator. I would assume it is likely to be a setup thing or a driver thing. But yeah, I'll try to find out. Maybe I can dig something up and show it next time. Right, so apart from Space Navigator, let me just enable my handy click and keyboard display. We can see in the lower left of the screen what's happening. Let me just make it a bit bigger. I think it is a bit too small. So, yeah, I guess that will work. So you can see this is a thing where all the stuff is hidden from tools and from add-ons and all that. You can see here is 3 add-on tabs. These are not normally there, so don't worry if you don't see them. But these should be there. And what I did is I installed the screencast add-on. There are 2 of them. I installed the one here. You can see it under add-ons. Screencast. This one, the 3D view screencast keys. There's another one, system screencast keys. That's the one that comes with Blender. That works, kinda, sorta. That's a port of the old screencast keys version from before 2.8, and it never really worked very well on the 2.8 and later versions. This one does work, and I just got it from the GitHub and installed it. You can just look it up. It should work to just install the Python file, find the Python file and say, okay, install that one, and it works for me. The other one just switches itself off every time you change modes, like you're in layout view like this, and then you change the mode to, let's say, shading, and then it's off again, which is a bit weird. And this one just stays on, and you can just work with it as normal. That's why I use this one. It doesn't look as fancy, but hey, it works. That's what counts. Right. Retarget, you mean for armatures? Retarget mechanism, retarget bones, retarget armatures. Pretty sure it does. There is an add-on at least that can do it, which I use. But I haven't done retargeting myself. But I know it works. I know there is a way to do it. I assume that Rigify, there's an add-on. Again, Blender's full of add-ons. And if you don't, the idea is that you don't have to install all the things and clutter your screen if you don't want all the functions. So you can just enable and disable add-ons if you don't need them. And Rigify is one of them that can just create a whole rig for you, and I am pretty sure it does retargeting as well. Mocap transfer, yeah. I would assume that you find that in here. There's the Rigify add-on. You can just enable it, and it will show up somewhere over here. I assume you need to be in pose mode. Yeah, I don't have an armature yet, so armature is what you use in Blender for rigging. I'm not sure how it's called in, what do you use, Cinema 4D? Not sure. Yeah, I can't say how good it is. I never used it myself. I know it's there, and people use it for quick editing of rigs. There are probably hundreds of add-ons for Blender out there, and we need to research that a bit to see what is the best thing to use. All right, so any further things I can try to answer? In the meantime, let me see if I can. Right. Just want to see if I can find the rig. Okay, rig. Let me just get that out of the way. If you want to know what kind of commands I'm using, you can always see them down here. I can try to let you know all the time. So like G for grabbing, and left clicking, of course, and right clicking for menus. Ever since 2.8, Blender switched to left click select, which is a big step, and you don't really believe it if you don't, if you are not a Blender user already. How much persuasion that took to get the Blender people to switch to left click select instead of right click select. So some fur. We have some fur to show. I can show you how you make it. And I have a test render scene with fur, but that was on Blender 2.79. I am not sure if I can load that. It might just crash. I can have a look if I can find it real quick. But this is certainly not something I will. I have my hopes for. I have high hopes for. Where's that thing? Oh, come on, there we go. Huh, I could try this one. Yeah, which version is it? Is it this one? Let me try this. Open. This is a scene that I was working on for a while. And it seems... Yeah, this is the old version, 2.79 version I did, because you can tell because all the important stuff is now at the bottom, where everybody will miss it. This is one of the other things that they changed with 2.8 and above. All the important stuff is now at the top where it belongs. This is one of the older versions. This looks like a newer version. It's the outside. Let me go in here. Yeah, the camera is set to a very narrow field of view. Right. But the fur thing, do I still have that here? Yeah, I do. There it is. It says ball of fur. Okay, collection is hidden, that's why I can't display it right now. Collections are this, by the way. Okay, let's just go over this really quick. This here is your outliner. This shows the whole scene, everything you have in a tree-like structure, basically. It's all the objects and parenting and mesh data and everything else you can see here. And here are the, okay, this is it. Here are the filters. I can go over those if you want to. So this is the collection and this is the fur thing. Let me see if I can just find it. When the screencast is off, of course, because I loaded a new scene. Need to hide all the other stuff. Okay, hide this big collection. This is the, here you can see all the assets I made for the scene here. I think this is the fur thing, right? Ball of fur, exactly. This is what we had there. And to render it, or to show it at least, I need to switch over to another rendering engine. So Blender has 3 render engines inside. One is Eevee, which is the real-time render engine, which is like a game engine, a game render engine if you like. So it fakes a lot of things. It fakes the shadows and everything, so it looks good, but it's not really accurate. But for a quick overview, it is really good. And there's Cycles, which is a path tracing engine. So if you want realism and physically accurate or mostly accurate lighting, then you want to use Cycles. And then there's the Workbench engine, which is what you see now. This is basically the fastest way to display your scene and still have textures on them. So, but to show you this, I need to start up, or I need to switch to render mode on Cycles. Let me put that on the top. So you don't get confused, because it should be on the top. But the thing is that while streaming, it also uses my GPU. So it might be that you see some stuttering when I try to show you what's on here. And I hope it doesn't outright crash. Yeah, it doesn't really look very good here. And yes, you are right. The hair system is gonna be replaced. I wouldn't say soon. They're working on it. The whole particle system is going to be removed and replaced by a new one, but it doesn't mean that all the stuff that you're making is basically gone, because that's, let's see here, yeah, that is something they want to have. So you have old particle systems, and they can just convert it to new particle to the new particle system. I will just re-enable the screencast thing, because after long, yeah, you can see this is the other one. Let's hope that it works. Yeah, because I loaded a new file and it takes over all the settings. So this is supposed to have fur. You can see it here, fur. So this is down here is the particles property. This whole thing is the property panel, and this is the particles. You can create a new particle system that comes up here. I can just create another one and see the particle settings. And then you have all the settings for this particular object. What we want here is, of course, hair, and you can see it is grayed out. Why is it grayed out? As I said, this is an old version. Maybe I just create a new object right next to it. And then the way you do that is shift right click to set your 3D cursor. That's something I think only Blender has. It's a point in space. You can just mark a point in space. This is your 3D cursor. That's where new objects will spawn when you add them. Shift A is adding new objects. While you can do this all in the menus right here. So add, and then I think I was using a UV sphere. This is a very big one. Let's scale it down with S. There we go. Maybe I should switch off the cycles render for the moment, just to edit this in place. Okay. And the material doesn't look right, it's just black here. That shouldn't be. Okay, let's add a new particle system. Hair. There you can see it. This is the default hair. It's of course not very pretty, but that's always the case. So let's hair strand shape. Let me just make it a bit. I want to have it not as not as long hair. Let me see if I can find that. The emitter, yeah, this is in rendering. If you want to show the emitter, that is not emission. That's not exactly. Ah, there we go. Hair length. So I did that before, but then it's been a while. So let's do it like this, maybe this length. The particle display. Let me go to local mode, isolation mode, which is the slash key on your numpad. We can only see this one object. This display here, of course, is just an approximation. Let's see, there was a question. Ever noticed memory leaks when rendering fur in animation? I have cycles variant for Cinema 4D and it's a real issue. Can't find out. No, I haven't. When I rendered fur in an animation, it was only a very short one, but I tried it out and I didn't notice anything. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who do that in Blender, so they would have noticed. So nothing that is known to me. Okay, so we have the length of the hair. It has 5 segments, so the display here is, of course, very, very basic. You only see, I mean, like 100th of the actual hair that will be there in render mode. Let me just switch to render mode. Okay, we don't have light. That's the problem with a physically based renderer. You need light. Let me add some light. Lights. Point light will do. Grab it, move it over here. Grab it more. And switch back to render modes. Now we can see something at least. Go to the light panel. This is again properties. The properties change depending on what kind of object you have. So a normal object will show a bit more here, and the light, which is over here, only has this light and a few other things. So let's give it like 500 watts. Right, so now it is bright. Maybe too bright. 300 watts. Okay, so this is the real hair. You can see it's very spiky. And to make it fur, of course, it needs to be very, very dense. So we need to change the settings for the particles. Let's go back to the particles settings. And we have children. Simple. Whoa. This is really, really a lot. Interpolated is probably what we want. Right, this looks much better. So it looks a bit like fur already. And I guess the next thing you want to do is control the flow of the fur, so the direction it grows in and it lays on the object. This is what you do with combing. There's a function that is called combing, where you can go and just drag lines across the object to basically define the direction of the hair, with what direction it's taking. Which I need to find again. So where is that? Because this is a pretty special function. It used to be right here in the 2.78 versions, and I can't see it here, but I think it's just here in particle edit. Right, exactly. So you have the object mode. This is where you move your objects around, the whole object. And then there is something called edit mode, where you can edit the vertices and faces. So with 1, 2, and 3, you can switch through vertex mode or line mode, or edge mode it's called, and face mode, and move these things around. And there are even more modes. You probably will know them, is like texture painting, weight painting, vertex painting, all that stuff, and particle editing. That's what we need to do here. Frizz and kink, I guess that's what they have with clumping. So you can say that you want a certain amount of clumping to the hair. And yes, you can just scroll. Let me just scroll this way up so you can see most of the stuff here. But there's still more, but I don't think anything down here is very important for the moment. There you can see is clumping, and there's roughness. This is and kinking. So I guess that is what you need. The newer versions of Blender, by the way, have a nice feature where you, if you don't know where something is in the properties panel, you can just type it in here. So if you type clumping, you can see it highlights the place where you can find it. You can work with it. And down here, the vertex group for clumping. So you want the clumping to happen more in this part of the mesh, or that part of the mesh. You can define vertex groups for that. So in particle editing, combing. So you can just go here and comb your hair or fur in this case. Comb it in the direction you want it to go. And this will be the direction it will follow once you render it. This is a bit untidy. Let's make it a bit neater. Now let's go back to object mode, and it should exactly there you can see it. Yeah, there's no scroll bar. That's right. You can see it if you come over here, and then you can see the scroll bar. It comes up when you move your mouse close to the edge. They want to unclutter the screen, so the scroll bar only shows up when the mouse is close to it. I don't like that either. I am a big fan of classic user interfaces where all the buttons are there, and if you can't use them, they are just grayed out. It's not like they disappear, but they try to unclutter the screen as much as possible. So they hide it, basically. But one thing you will learn with Blender very fast is that they have a very consistent way of doing things. So if one thing works in one place, it should work in another place as well. So like here, if you push the middle mouse button and move it, you drag the screen around. It's the same thing. You push the middle mouse button and move it, you move the panel around. Push the middle mouse button here and move it, you move the animation around. So this is the same everywhere. So if you want to move something, you always use the middle mouse button. And that's the same here. But if you want to use it, of course, you go over here and just grab the scroll bar. Yeah, that's the particle function. What would it do to other particles? I think it's just not available in with other particle modes. It's only available in hair mode. So this is the hair particles, and if you remove it, and say it's a particle emitter now, and you're starting an animation, you can see particles coming up and disappearing again. There you go. Particles, lots and lots of particles. I assume, you see, yeah, okay, it comes up, but it will do basically, yeah, it doesn't do anything. This is only for hair. And there it works just as you would expect. And there's a hair shader, especially for this kind of stuff, that will try and do all the things like subsurface scattering and internal reflections of lights and all the sheen things that you have on hair and fur. Comb moving particles, yeah, that would be fun. So they are running away from you, you try to comb in place. That could be like a game. Let me just see if I can. Right, this is, as you can see, this is an older version, an older blend file. That means that the interface is a bit different. And usually at the top you have a shading workspace. You can click on it and then you have the shader set up. I don't have that here right now because this is such an old version of file. Let me just open one here. Right click here, join, push that up. Grab this. This is normally at the top, shade editor. This doesn't have a material yet. That's why it's just white. Outliner. New functions of the outliner. The fun thing is that everything that they call the new functions of the outliner is stuff that you are used to from other programs already, because they only now added them. They improved the outliner. And yeah, it brings it on par to other programs, how you're used to using other programs. But it's not probably nothing new for most users, unless they are Blender users. But yeah, new functions. You can drag and drop parenting. So if you have an object and another object should follow it, then you can just drag and drop it on top of each other, and they will parent themselves. So one is the parent, the next is the child, and the child will follow the parent, which you can do here as well, of course, but you can now do it on the outliner. The mode switch here is rather new, right here at the left side of the object. This is the mesh object, and this is the mesh data. And when you go to the mesh object itself and into object or edit mode here, then you can see you're in edit mode, and you can switch between edit mode and object mode, because what you can do in new versions of Blender is have multiple objects in edit mode. And usually you can only, or in older versions you could only have one object in edit mode. Now you can have multiple. This is what it shows here. What else? Yeah, keyboard navigation, right and left. That should be obvious, right? And the Blender people only added this now, so it's a bit behind the times, but it is improving the outliner. So yeah, that's one of the functions. Multi-select in the outliner, or selection and deselection in the outliner, should be obvious as well. But this is all part of the improvements of the outliner. In case you're looking for a specific function, I can try to see if I know about it. Otherwise, just imagine the new outliner functions and the improvements of the outliner functions, bring it up to par to every other tree view that you're using in your operating system. That's basically it. There's more here. Filtering of objects, which is really, really good if you like search function or filter like for types, or customizing which kind of icons you want, because you don't want to clutter your screen. This is something that Blender always does. It takes away everything that you don't need, but you can get it back here. What else? Right, this is just, you can switch editors, and this is the outliner editor. Yeah, that's basically what you could, let me just put that away, okay. What you could see here, this is visibility. Yeah, as I said, most things in the outliner are basically the things that you would expect from a tree view. Put that at the top. Right, if you still want to see something about the fur, I can add a material to it. This is the material tab, which has like a ball, a shiny ball icon, because the previews are usually done on a shiny ball or on a cube or something. And you can add another material slot and another new material. Collections do not move their children. No, collections are just logical groups. So they are not, you can't see a collection in here, and you can't do anything with the collection in the 3D view. The relationship is just logical. So you can say this is part of the ball of fur collection. You have 10 balls of fur and you put them all in the same collection. It doesn't mean they have any relation to each other. It's just a collection you can easily switch on and switch off, or navigate to, or something like that. It's not a parenting system. The parenting system is like the tree view here, inside, or with the object here at the root, and then other objects as child. Let me just Why not? Let me just add a box. Grab it over here. Take us too much. So move it here. Shift select this one. And then Control P. And then just parent to object. And then if you move the parent around, the child follows. And you can see it is now here in the hierarchy under the sphere. But this has nothing to do with collections. X to delete. Go back here, material. And this is the scary looking node editor. Or as 2.8 and above calls it, the shader editor. Because here you can set up how the object is supposed to look when you render it, like this. And the material now is just plain white. There's nothing special about it. So it doesn't really look like fur or hair. It just looks like a bunch of strands. And for hair, there is something special. Shift A, again, as I did before, Shift A added a material, an object or a lamp or something. Same here, Shift A. You can search for something or just choose it from one of the groups. Let's say shader. And here we probably need the principled hair shader. Principled is the shader to use most of the time. This is the physically accurate shader. If you want physically accurate light, you always take the principled shader. This is the thing that has metalness and roughness and normal maps and displacement maps, all the stuff that you want. There are simpler shaders like the diffuse BSDF, which just puts a texture on it and does nothing else. Or emission shader if you have lights that you want to see, like a flat plain light or a neon light or something like that. Then you would use the emission shader. Although you can do emission from the principled, but I wouldn't use it so often. So principled, and it moves around, and I can just put it here. Take the BSDF output, which is the shaded material, and put it onto the surface. And this will try and emulate hair as best as it can, basically. And I hope the stream doesn't suffer too much while I use the graphics card for rendering here. Just tell me if you see a lot of stuttering or something in the stream, and I try to render it on the CPU. And this is where you can basically say, okay, I want the hair a bit rough, or I want it very, very smooth, shiny. The emitter underneath is a bit ugly. Let me just shade it smooth. Or maybe just hide it. I think it's better if I just hide it. Oh, it is not really helping at the moment. So I can say article. Where's the emitter? Show emitter. What display? Show emitter. So now it's only the hair. And that's what we're interested in at the moment. 3D noise. Yeah. 3D noise. Let me just put it here. You have textures that you can add. Noise texture, which is here. There you get it. The choice between 1D to 4D noises. I guess you probably only need 2D or 3D noises. I never needed anything else, at least. And yeah, you can set up a lot of parameters. I can. Let me just take it away here and put another object here. We had a cube before. Let's put a cube here in again. It shows noise pretty well. Should be UV unwrapped already. This looks a bit weird right now, but it's not. Okay. U unwrap. Oh, should be. Ha, yeah. We go back. There it is. Yeah, old blend file. I should just create a new blend file. It comes pre-unwrapped, so you don't have to do what I just did. Go back to where were we? Okay. This doesn't have a material now. Add one. Not a particle. Material. Material. There we go. Assign a material. Just call it noise. And for 3D noises, you mean like volumetric noise? Is that right? Because this is, of course, this is a surface material, and you probably mean volumetric. It will be the same for the input texture, so I can just add it right now. So, color to the base color gives me noise. I don't want to UV slap a 3D noise onto it. Yeah, you can do that. You can just take the thing and say object coordinates and then put the noise on there, which is, I think, vector mapping. And let me see, input texture coordinate. Right. So I think you don't really need that, but yes, let's do that. Okay. So for the a little bit advanced users, this is how you do that in Blender. This of course is not correct. Just Control right click disconnect. Can have generated coordinates, which is the easiest thing. Put that here. The color goes into the base color. And then the UV map on here. Let me put the vector mapping. Where is it? There it is. Vector here. So now the UV mapping of that box does not matter anymore. It will just generate a bunch of UVs, and you can put the noise texture on it. And you can choose a lot of noises here. This is just a 3D standard noise. You can use. You can see here Musgrave noise or Voronoi, or the wave textures, white noise textures. Yeah, whatever you need. So most of it should be there. I'm not sure what exactly you're looking for, but this is the place to find it. So basically, it's all in the shaders, not here in the shaders, in the textures. And for 3D noise, you can see it here. Let me just scale it a bit up so it's a bit easier to see. Can change the detail, how much fine-grained noise you want. See if it's more rough or more smooth. And you can distort it like this, swirl it around, which might be interesting for some spooky mist or something like that. And if you want that, if you want to have volumetrics instead of just putting it flat on a surface, you can delete this one and add a volumetric shader. Principled volume. Connect these again. This will now take a while, if it's rendering at all. Because this is something I haven't tried before. So this is how you would set up your... Oh, color is very dark, I guess. Emission color. I want to do this. Oh, I don't know. I haven't used the volume shader that much yet. Volume scatter. Light is there. We can't see it now. Yeah, I haven't used the volume shader very much, so I guess that's something I would have to look. Oh, right. Yeah, I did it wrong. There we go. You have to put it, of course, in the material output for volume, not for surface. So this is what you can get, and then the noise will show the color if I put it at the right spot. Yeah, it does. It's a bit faint at the moment, but you can add color ramps in between and change that so it looks a bit stronger. Is that a mapping or is that a vector? Converter. Color ramp. Put it in between here. And here you can just squeeze it a bit. Now it's more like mist-like. Okay, curvature shader. Not sure. What is it supposed to do? Curvature shader. I'd have to look that up, basically. Let me see if maybe we can find something here, but curvature. Vector curves. No, that's probably not what you want. Is that something like a post-processing effect? I'm not exactly sure what you are referring to. Maybe you have an example somewhere. I don't think you can post links. No, I don't think so. So I'm not sure. If you can give me an example what it would do, maybe I can find out. Or maybe we can do a handy Google search. Curvature shader in Blender. Curvature 3D. Cavity, I know cavity, but that's just a building effect. Curvature 2D curve at a point. Min curvature, max curvature. Curvature 3D modifier. Modifier. Radial. A color modifier, okay. Grayscale map depending on the object's bending. Yeah, the delay is about a minute. So if you ask me something, I see it a minute later, and when I see it, it's probably even a minute more late. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I would have to look that up. But yeah, maybe ask me again tomorrow on Twitter or maybe in chat, and I can see if I find something. I'm pretty sure you said based on the curvature, give me the grayscale map. Pretty sure it can do that. But I don't. No, maybe it is. Maybe it is in the object. Where is that? Object info. Material index, location random. No, that's not it. There's a node, a shader node, that can give you a number of values depending on the object. Geometry. Position, normal, tangent. Maybe it's that. Maybe you can. Pointiness. Pointiness is something similar, I guess. It's not exactly curvature. But it doesn't hurt. Just have a look at it. But yeah, I would have to change the Control R, cutting it, then grab on the x-axis, pull it out. That do something. Maybe I should go back to a surface shader, a simple surface shader. Just diffuse right here. Yeah, this is what it's giving me for that. The noise is gone, by the way, so this is just the pointiness map. Yeah, yeah. This is the problem we have. Probably we need to find the common ground for the language, because every 3D package, of course, uses its own language, and Blender is no exception. So maybe the curvature map or curvature shader just is called something different in Blender. I don't know. And this is called pointiness, which should show you if an edge or something has a very, very steep angle. And it does that here, but I'm not sure if that's how it's supposed to look. Mute this. Yeah, there's a bit of color on there. Let me put a curve here so we can try to modify it a bit. So might be easier to see like this. Yeah, I can't really see how that relates to the geometry. Yeah, it just moves with it, so it's no, maybe no, it doesn't. There, it does something different. So I'm not sure. I can increase the size of the print on the screen. Maybe you can see something more here. Positions and normals is okay. Let me see if it does. Oh, right. Yeah. I said the noise texture is gone. It's not. It's not. Pointiness to the factor. Yeah, I would expect something to happen here, but yeah, I don't really know much about curvature shader or pointiness shader, unfortunately. Let me see position. Yeah, that's not really working. Okay. Yeah, I will have a look. And we'll see if I can answer that tomorrow on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I can find the answer there. Answer somewhere and get it into Blender terms, so we can actually look at it and see what it does. This should do something. Oh, it does. Okay. Maybe the pointing is something here as well. No, this is just a shadow. Okay. Yeah, need to look that up. I can't really help there at this moment. Let me go back. Grease pencil. You have all the questions. All the questions where I am not the best person to ask. But that doesn't matter. I'll try it anyway. So, grease pencil. This is a fresh Blender scene for 2.9. So this is actually what it would look like. So let's have a look for grease pencil. You can add, let me move the default cube out of the way. We can add a new grease pencil object right here. This is probably a bit too small also. Let me try it like this. So, okay, there we go. Here is grease pencil, and you can choose if you want to start with a blank canvas with already a predefined stroke, so you can modify it and look at how it works, or even with a monkey. That's a Blender thing, by the way. If you add a mesh, you can say add a monkey, and it will do that, because you want to have a look at some kind of material properties, and this monkey just shows everything, cavities and flat and not flat shaded parts. And they did that for the grease pencil as well. So Shift A, grease pencil, monkey. There it is. And now you can go and yeah, use draw mode and just paint. This is basically how it works. And it creates a stroke. You can see it here. with lots and lots and lots of vertices. This is like using a vector draw program. You can just move it around like you can do everything else in Blender. Evil, evil. It offers you in the properties panel, it offers you layers, and here are the different layers of this one grease pencil object. You just select object mode, and you can select and move it around. This is one grease pencil object. It lives in a 3D space, so you can mix 3D and 2D objects. But if you'd want to look flat on, right, like this, I think this is the left view, and you can use the number pad keys. Like 1 is doing this, 3 is doing this, 7 is doing this. So you have 1 for front, 3 for right, and 7 for top. And in this case, you want the front orthographic view for 2D drawings. And you can start drawing on any surface. Basically, you can just grab that cube, scale it a bit, and this can be my drawing surface. So go back to grease pencil and draw, and now I'm drawing in this object. So I selected this object, and everything I draw will be part of this object. So if I start drawing out here, I don't have a graphics tablet, so the lines will be very jagged. And this is all part of this one object now. Tab. Control tab can select object mode, and if I move it around, this will be the same thing. Grease pencil notes can sketch effect on 3D object. You can do that. You can do that. You can project them right onto this surface here. So let me see if I can demonstrate that. Here's a view. Origin surface, I think. And if I start drawing, it draws it on the surface of this box. And you can do that around the corner as well. So basically, if you draw like this, it paints it on top of the face. I have set an offset, like 1.5, so it's like 15 centimeters off the surface. You can make it very, very small and paint again, and then it will go on the surface much closer. And what you can do is record all these strokes. I have to look that up, how that really works, but basically you have this record button down here where you can record your stroke and then move on a frame with the cursor keys, and then record the next stroke, and cursor key, record the next stroke, cursor key, record the next stroke, like this. You can play it back. Like this, you can make animations. Of course, if you are an actual artist, not like me, you can do something very, very neat with that. What you mean is like what Blender calls freehand, freestyle. Freestyle, yes. There is a function for that, and there is a better one coming. Right now, what you can do is use a function that's called freestyle. This is grease pencil is something that you draw yourself. It is object that you create yourself, draw yourself, make animations with. If you want to highlight edges, like in a cell shading comic or something like that, then you would use freestyle drawing. And let me see if I can pull that off for rendering. Rendering mode. I am in Eevee, I guess. Right, you have to be in cycles for that to work. And here, down here, you can see the freestyle box. You can activate it. Let me see, I have to add a camera, or take my camera here. Numpad 0 to look through the camera. And going to view. camera to view. Now I can move around, and this will move my camera as well. I can frame this and actually render something. Camera to view off, and to hide this one, F12 will render. Yeah, this is a bit slow. Let me just go to GPU. And hopefully this won't eat up the stream. So this renders much faster. And there you can see the freestyle lines. This is just the basic freestyle, so it's just highlighting the lines above, I think 40, 50 degrees or something like that, and tries to find out which ones are in front of the others. And the other underlying texture is the object itself. Unfortunately, it only shows it in render mode, so you always have to render to see what it does. I can just make the render a bit faster. Just don't render so much. Just make the output smaller. Okay, can I go back to freestyle? I always have to look for it because I don't use it so much. There we go, freestyle, and there you can say what kind of freestyle lines you want to have. And this is just very, very basic, and there's a better one coming. They had a really, really cool one in 2.7.9, and I'm not sure if that's still available as an add-on or something, but I can't see it here. Because normally you would have lots of things that you could tweak in the freestyle operator. Like the lines would get thicker and thinner based on the position of the object and all that. But they are looking at it's called LANPR, so like an NPR line drawing workflow. Yes, dictionary Blender C4D. That would be very, very handy. Yeah, but unfortunately, the 2.9 versions don't have that really, really powerful freestyle function yet that we had in 2.7.9, and I hope it's coming back soon. Okay, any other ideas what you you want to look at? What you want me to try and explain, because I am not very good with the really artisty stuff. Constant changers. Yes. Constant changes in Blender, yes and no. Yes, if you go from one major version to the next. No, as soon as you are inside this major version. So from 2.79 to 2.80 and above, yes, there is a lot of things that have changed. And that was very controversial, of course, but yeah, 2.8 is so much better than 2.79. A few functions are still missing, like the freestyle function, unfortunately, but everything else is so much better. And after 2.8, only some UI tweaks were made and all the functions were the same. Some parts are being replaced, like the particle editor, but that needed to be replaced because it's like 25 years old and it hasn't been updated since then, so they're working on a replacement. But in that case, it will be compatible, so old particle systems can be converted to the new one. File formats, old files. Yeah, what you can do is just save an older version of Blender, open it in that one, and save it again, and then get the next step up, open it, and save it again. But mostly files just work. You can open them and they just work. There was one guy who compiled not compiled, but got to work Blender 1.1, an IRIX version of Blender 1.1, something like that. And he had to use Blender 2.6 to open the files. So it's like 20 years after that, and he could open the file, save it again, and then open it in 2.9, and it worked. So yes, the old versions will load, so the newer versions will load older versions, and you can always download 10-year-old Blender versions from the official website. They all keep all the versions alive, and you can just load it there, save it again if it doesn't load in the newest version, and then load it from there. So it's probably one step more you have to take to get it there. But yeah, compatibility is there, but only in one direction. So once you save it in 2.9, you will probably not be able to load it up in 2.7. By the way, I always say 2.9 and 2.7. I always mean 2.9 and 9T and above, 2.9 series, and 2.7T and above, 2.7 series. You're out of questions for now. Okay, and I think we already have an hour. So I guess if there are no basic questions, if anyone wants to ask some basic questions, I can show a few simple things how to get you started in Blender. Otherwise, I guess I will just make another stream at some point. Let's see if there are any other questions. I only see you in the list for the moment. But yeah, well, if that's about it for the time being, I will have a look at the curvature thing and see if I can find out something about that, and let you know on Twitter, basically. And yeah, everything else we'll see in the next stream. So thank you for all the questions. That was interesting, and that kept me looking for a while. That's good. So I'm learning as you are. And yeah, programming. Yeah, Blender, you would use the Python scripting console right here. And yeah, we can do that as well, but that is really, really advanced stuff. I use that for a few things, and it's really, really powerful. But maybe not in a live stream. That's something that we should do one-on-one, or maybe with a few people who are interested in Python scripting. Yeah, me too. I was also waiting if someone else asks. But yeah, nobody else is asking. So yeah, I will say thank you for all the questions. Thank you for tuning in, and everybody who had a look and wanted to see how these, admittedly more advanced features of Blender work. And I will do a bit of homework for the next stream and see you then. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day. Bye-bye.